In 2016, I went to go and see Tony Robbins at the O2 Centre here in London. It's a huge venue and it holds about 10,000 people, not including the support staff. And it was a 4-day event called Unleash the Power Within. He was only there for like 1.5 days in total, I would say. And most of the time he was telling stories and selling stuff. He decided that he was going to do a meditation with 10,000 people and he wanted everybody to face their traumas. So he asked them to get into a state of connecting to themselves and to revisit every time they'd been hurt, abused, mentally tortured, whatever it was. He said, go into your pain. So we go through the meditation. Quite early on, I realized this is not my vibe. So I check out and I observe. I put a little bubble around me, energy bubble, to protect me because I'm not feeling good at this state. He gets everyone remembering their trauma, feeling the pain, connecting to the people that had put them through the trauma. And then all of a sudden, he says, now I want you to scream, shout, yell, cry at them, let it out, tell them everything that you wanted to say. Imagine a room with 10,000 people screaming, wailing, crying, and I mean quite aggressively. Imagine what that feels like. If you want to know what hell sounds like, that's about right. I documented it every single day of what we did and what it felt like, and that was by far the worst day I'd experienced. Meanwhile, whilst they're screaming, howling and crying, I see entities jump out of people. Now, I'm an intuitive, I'm an energy reader, I can see these things. I could see them jumping out of one person and then jumping into another. Tony Robbins had unleashed everyone's demons out into a space and they were literally circling at the top of the auditorium. Now, Tony Robbins isn't equipped to do this kind of work, to hold that space, to ensure that those demons were taken up and sent off to the light. There were no words in that meditation to help people clear themselves or cut cords with this trauma. Nothing at all. He basically just ended it and told them to be quiet and sit down. Meanwhile, the entities were jumping into other people.
Hello my loves, welcome back to a new video. My name is Jade Shinyu and I help people reclaim their power physically, mentally and spiritually. Now today we're going to be talking about the dangers of group meditation and basically exposing Tony Robbins, using him as an example of why it's actually very dangerous in certain situations. Now, a lot of people who first come to the New Age or first come onto the spiritual path, unfortunately become prey to a lot of people who unfortunately are not qualified enough to be holding space for certain spiritual practices, especially when it comes to healing trauma, releasing negative energy or getting rid of any sort of like negative entities, anything like that. It takes a very advanced spiritual practitioner to work really one-on-one with someone when attempting any of that sort of work, as it is a very difficult thing to do and it needs to be done properly. Otherwise it can turn dangerous, and I know this firsthand by my own experience. Now with meditation, what people don't understand is you open yourself up a lot when you meditate. Especially with different types of meditation. So with energy is contagious, and I've spoken about this briefly on other videos. So it's very important that when you're meditating, ideally it's best to do it on your own, in your own space, in a very sacred area, preferably your house that is cleansed and prepared, because when you meditate you open up your aura. So if you're not able to if you don't know how to protect yourself, if you don't know how to shield yourself and close your aura after meditating, then it can be quite dangerous if you're around or people who have a lot of negative energy. Now, most of the time it's fine, but if you're in certain situations around people who have a heavy trauma or who are releasing trauma, as I'll get into with Tony Robbins, it can be very bad indeed. So in the clip that I shows, that woman was obviously exposing Tony Robbins and what he did. And I'm very shocked really that he'll be so reckless. But again, I'm not surprised, because unfortunately with these sort of people, they're not qualified enough to be doing the sort of energy work that they take in. And a lot of the times it's all about money. Like, you should never do group meditations releasing trauma, negative energy, when with 10,000 people. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, when you are doing this sort of thing, you should be doing it one-on-one with people, because even then it could be hard. If you are getting 10,000 people to literally tap into their traumas and literally visualize it and then scream it out, when everyone else is open from opening their aura, doing the same thing, and then you're not even knowing what to do with the entities that have been released, the negative energy that has been released, you're not even putting it back where it's supposed to be or alchemizing it to light. Like, that is a recipe for disaster, as that woman exposed. Because energy doesn't get destroyed. It's not as simple as, like with healing, people just think, oh, you just got to get rid of the energy. You just got to purge out the negative trauma, purge out the energy. But it's not that simple. If anything, there's two ways that you need to heal. If you're purging something out, you need to be with someone who knows what to do with that negative energy or entity, literal entity that has been stuck inside you. So they will have to get that entity, and with the guidance of spiritual guides, so actual spiritual entities as well of light, they will have to put it back either into the dark dimension that it belongs in, or into light. They can alchemize it if it's come from you. But if it's a literal demon, you know, dark entity, whatever you want to label them as, that has attached itself to a human, they will have to be put back into the dimension that they came from. Now, this is a very advanced skill that only master shamans can do. It's very difficult, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. So with getting 10,000 people to literally purge out their demons is extremely stupid and reckless, because then they are just circulating, they don't know where to go, and then they're going to go back into another host, because as soon as they come out, they'll look for a new host. They're like viruses. They're literally spiritual viruses, because they feed off people's energy. They do that to survive, to stay in our realm. So this is why with any negative energy, you need to put them back where they belong when it comes to demons and negative entities. So it's just so stupid. So someone could have gone to that retreat, not even having a negative entity attached to them, but then literally been possessed and got so many negative entities from other people go into them. So it's very reckless, it's very stupid, and it's just a perfect example of someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and pretending. Basically, they've let their ego get so enlarged that they don't give a shit, because they just make millions of pounds, literally millions of pounds, you know, charging people ridiculous amounts of money and being greedy, trying to, oh, I'm going to heal 10,000 people like that. And he's actually doing far more damage to people than when they would have come there. And I've met people who've gone to Tony Robbins. I mean, I personally, again, I don't want to sound judgmental, but I've never liked him. I've always had like a bad, weird vibe. I've always got like bad vibes of him since I first saw him, you know. And you can't heal people in 3 days. You just can't. Like, this is why so many times I think, you know, these retreats are a waste of money, because you'll go to this retreat, you know, even if it did work, you know, you'll think, oh, you feel, you know, fantastic for a few days afterwards when you come home, but then reality sets in. It's not enough. You've got to do the hard work. Like, you can't just pay 10 grand or 5 grand for a 3-day workshop or retreat and expect to be magically healed and then turn into him and be a millionaire. Like, it does not work like that. You got to do the real work. You got to be, you know, the only thing that changes your life is consistency. Consistency is what will change your life. Having a consistent routine, a consistent mindset, reprogramming yourself consistently. You know, this is what worked for me. You have to raise your own frequency. So getting back to group meditation dangers, again, a very wise teacher of mine who I knew personally, who was extremely enlightened, I've spoke about him before, but basically he warned me years ago, like, never meditate with toxic people, never meditate. Basically be very, very careful who you meditate around. So it goes with, like, obviously these types of gurus, you know, them sort of retreats, etc. But then even like, you know, smaller group meditations, like be very careful where you go. And try, I mean, he even said to me, don't meditate with people who aren't even vegan, because people who are eating meats will have a frequency in their aura, in their body, of fear, pain, torture, suffering. Because unfortunately, you know, 99% of the meats that people eat is animals that have come from slaughterhouses, who have come from factory farms, who have been tortured, abused, you know, horrifically killed. So that energy becomes you, it becomes a part of your aura. So if you're opening yourself up to and meditating next to someone who has that energy will be merging with your energy. It's kind of like, you know, being sexually intimate in a way, but, you know, less potent. But you're still merging your energy. Energy is contagious with that frequency that they are emitting. So be very, very protective of your energy. And this is where the new age, you know, movement is very reckless and stupid, because they think that they can override everything. It's called spiritual bypassing. So you think, oh, it doesn't matter, we just got to, you know, fake love everything, when it's not like that. And this is what gets people into so, you know, deep trouble. And then they panic because they start getting psychically attacked. They start getting demonically attacked. And then they think, oh shit, all spiritual practices, all witchcraft, all new age teachings is evil and satanic. I'm going to run to the church, because it's only the church and Christians who talk about it. You know, there's not many spiritual teachers that I see that expose this sort of thing, who are aware of it and talk about it. I've seen it growing like lately a little bit, but like it's very hard to, you know, find it. And this is why I try to voice it as much as possible without, you know, trying to fearmonger people. Because, you know, obviously don't slip into fear or paranoia, because then of course that feeds it too, and you don't want to manifest it to you. However, you got to be wise. You got to have, you know, practice spiritual hygiene, practice, you know, being spiritually smart. You know, it's kind of like being street smart, but in a spiritual sense. My best advice is, you know, practice on your own. You know, practice doing meditation of a high vibration, you know, listening to like 432 hertz, you know, good music, good healing tones, good frequencies, or very positive affirmations, you know, anything that's like very high vibrational. But again, that's not enough. So you need to really do the shadow work and work on raising your frequency when you're on the spiritual path to protect yourself. Because especially if you are like an empath or a natural medium, you will have to do it more so than other people. Because sometimes people are very grounded naturally and they're not as open to these sort of things. But most people who are drawn to the spiritual path will naturally be quite open people, and like natural witches, natural mediums, empaths. So you absorb things like a sponge. You're very open to things. So you have to practice this protection and take it very seriously and not be reckless with your energy. So this is why it's very important to avoid doing these sorts of group meditations to do with releasing trauma. The probably safest one I recommend, that is probably the only one that will override negative energy because they're directly alchemizing it with frequencies, is sound bath meditation. So if you go to someone who's literally just playing crystal bowl, so crystal sound bowl meditations, that will be pretty much safe. But I've gone to like sound bath meditations with people that I didn't really know. However, most of them were vegan, but you know, some of them weren't. But because the sounds, the frequencies from the sound baths were so powerful, were so high vibrational, it's like it just blasted like all, not blasted, but alchemized the negative energy a lot. And we weren't releasing any trauma. The only thing that we were doing was we were receiving the frequencies from the sound bowls. So we didn't do anything to do with like, oh, visualizing your trauma and then releasing it, you know, facing anything like that. Please avoid at all costs doing any sort of meditations like that in a group. So always focus on doing very positive, loving vibrations. But even then, be careful. Sound bath meditations are probably the best. But again, it really depends on the guru, you know, the practitioner, the person leading and holding the space. If they're genuine and they have like a very powerful light, then their light will protect you, but only to a certain degree. So again, it's very risky and it is kind of like playing with fire. So I would highly suggest just having your own meditation practice at home, or if you want to join in with people, doing it online. So just really work on your own discernment, and if something feels off, then just shield yourself off. Like if you're doing any sort of meditation and you feel like fear, you feel something's weird, you just feel like uncomfortable or even anxious, like when you're in a group or if you're with someone, like following a meditation with like a person, just like zone out of it. Like don't allow yourself to like go into that trance. Just sit there and just like put a bubble around you like that woman did, and just shield yourself off until it's over or just leave. You know, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone, just go, you know, just protect yourself. Don't worry about being weird or awkward, you know, because this shit can be very dangerous. You do not want to like be infected with someone else's baggage, with their trauma, or with a parasite, or even worse, a demonic, you know, very dark entity. Because they're always looking for hosts. They're always looking for people that they can like jump into. It really is like that, you know, brutal. So again, to protect yourself further, the only thing that I can stress, like I always say, is to have a very high vibration yourself. Because the more low your vibration, the more you're going to match the vibrational energy of low entities. Again, like these entities can sometimes attack high vibrational people, but the best defense is always going to be you having a very high frequency, and just avoiding things that open you up too much. So of course, avoiding drugs, avoiding alcohol, you know, avoiding certain types of meditation if you feel like, oh, you know, you're already very ungrounded. You know, it's very important to have very strong lower chakras. People focus too much on the higher chakras and then they become very unbalanced. And if your lower chakras are shut off and your higher chakras are the only ones that are working, even that can be very unsafe, and then entities can get within you. Because again, you're like in the astral realms. And again, I've experienced this. So you have to be very grounded and activate all of your chakras. So a good meditation practice that I recommend to my clients quite a lot is literally just to do a simple chakra tuning meditation every single day. So you're activating each one of your chakras. There's so many on YouTube, and you don't have to do like really long ones. Like there's a great one that I listen to a lot, and it's only 15 minutes long. And you can literally just tune yourself up like that. Or just do a powerful heart meditation chakra, or just do a heart frequency meditation, because your heart, you know, the frequency of that is extremely strong, and that's a very powerful way to alchemize negative energy and trauma within yourself in a more gentle way. And if you are someone who feels like you do have, you know, negative entities attached to you, then try to seek someone out one-to-one. Do not go to big group meditations where everyone's going to be like, oh, releasing their demons and shit. Like that is so dangerous. Do not do that, because you could end up worse off. So do it on your own. Seek out a genuine shaman, have one-to-one healing, you know, preferably in person as well. Because sometimes if someone is not capable of even helping you, they can make things worse. And again, I've had this happen with me in the past, where I would meet one-to-one healers and they just weren't able to heal like the negative energy or get rid of the negative entity that was attached to me, and it made everything worse. Because they're kind of like predators, and if you're like poking them, they will attack. They will try to defend, like, you know, their home, their host. They can be extremely, what's the word? Defensive and aggressive when they're trying to protect, you know, their host, their home that they're like clung onto. So remember that energy is like everywhere, and it really is just an energy game. Like on the spiritual path, you know, this is why I always say that you have to have a pure heart when you are on the spiritual path, because this is what will protect you. And that's what I mean by raising your frequency. Again, I made an old video on that, so please watch that. You know, I can't remember, it was 5 or 7 ways to change your life, to raise your frequency. I might do a newer updated one, but that is basically what I followed, and it massively helped me so much. But basically having a pure heart is what will really help protect you, because this is what will transmute negative energy. It's so important that you keep your heart strong and open and pure, you know, practicing compassion, empathy, you know, for all beings, not just yourself, you know, getting rid of your ego. But then at the same time, you have to have healthy boundaries, and that's where your more strong masculine energy comes into. So, you know, making sure you protect yourself, saying no, don't people please to toxic people, etc. So it's really having the balance of feminine and masculine energy, and avoiding people like Tony Robbins. So again, no hatred to him, you know, unfortunately it is very reckless. So be very careful what retreats you do with certain people. So I hope you like the video, my loves. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you are updated on my future videos. If you want one-to-one help, I do offer oracle card readings where I give my own spiritual guidance to you and intuitive help. So I will link that in the description box below as always, or you can visit my website, thegoddesscoven.net. I also have a free third eye ebook, so please check that out, because this is a very powerful way to, of course, up your frequency and make your discernment stronger, so you know what sort of situations to avoid. This is what massively helped me. I also have a chakra cleanse ebook that is currently on sale for only $7.77. So that is another way to massively cleanse your frequency, to give your physical body and your spiritual body a very good clean, a very good detox, which is, you know, perfect time to do in spring, as it is the energy of cleansing and rebirth. So please check that out if you feel called to do so. Until next time, my loves, lots of light, lots of love. Ahimsa.